Hi, it's Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style coming to answer your colour and style question. My age, I am nearly 68 or nearly 69 and I don't want to dress too young. However, I don't want to feel like a frumpy old woman. You know what is really interesting is that if you ever worrying about dressing too young, you're probably never going to do it. This is something I have learned from my clients over the years. And what I find is when I do meet someone that you could say maybe is dressing too young or inappropriate in some sort of way, it's usually because they are rebelling against something, and they'll often say things like, nobody can tell me I can't wear my XYZ. Rather than, what happens is so many women, I see this over and over again, particularly, and seriously, I see it even in the over 30s where they go, oh, I don't want to be mutton dressed as lamb. And I'm thinking, you are still young. Enjoy it while you can. So this is where thinking about, kind of worrying about dressing too young is actually going to make you more likely dress too old and frumpy from that fear. So really, what is mutton dress as lamb? It can be just too much skin, where you're just showing off way too much skin all at the same time. Generally, most of us as we get older feel a bit more comfortable, a little bit more covered up. Skin's not as taut as it once was, all those sorts of things. Plus, I don't like to get too much sun damage either, so covering up is a good thing in that way as well. But, you might just feel less comfortable. So rather than just having your arms out, your décolletage out, your black back out, your stomach out, and your legs out all at the same time, just choosing one of those is enough. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I think often happens with mutton dress as lamb, I think it's where we are unaware of what works for us. So this is sometimes where we're just wearing the latest fashion for the sake of wearing the latest fashion. And one of the things we expect to happen as people age is they become more educated about their style. They get to know what really works for them. They kind of have, experimented and all that sort of stuff and know that this shape works and that shape doesn't. And so when you're wearing something that's kind of at odds with you in some sort of physical manner, it can be a bit like, and especially when it's the latest fashion, it can be a little bit try hard, I suppose, is how it might be viewed by other people. Now, you might just say, I don't care, I'm going to wear anything that's in fashion because I like that, and there's personality coming into it. But it is something to be aware of, that generally there is kind of some association that as we get older, we generally become a little bit more sophisticated. And in our style, we expect our clothes to last longer, and it doesn't need to all be latest fashion trend. And it's often when it's fashion trend head to toe, whether or not it suits us, rather than picking from those latest trends, the bits that work for us, and leaving the rest. Just because it's in fashion doesn't mean we have to wear everything that's in fashion all at the same time. And there's always lots and lots of different fashion trends going around at the same time. Whenever I've done, blog posts and things about fashion trends, you'll notice there's probably 7 or 8 kind of dominant fashion trends, and you might dismiss all but one of them. You might go, oh, I'll bring a little bit of that in. That's something that I quite like, but you don't need all of them. So kind of this kind of like slavish following fashion, even if it doesn't suit you, and too much skin. And the other thing I always think about when I'm thinking about what is mutton dressed as lamb is if it is a piece of clothing or a style of clothing I would expect to see on my daughter anywhere from the age of kind of 2 or 3 up to 15 or 16. Probably not for me. So, I often see these things where I go, we tend to associate tiered frilled things with young girls and stuff. So I think it's if that fashion trend is something we see on like little kids' clothes, then it's probably, that's where mutton dress and lamb might happen. But if you've asked the question, it's not going to happen. You're more likely to dress too old and frumpy in saggy, baggy, or just old lady clothes, as I call them, for fear of dressing too young. So stop just shopping at the old lady clothes, and don't, don't just just take anything. So look around and work out what works for you. And this is why getting your style education is so useful, because it means you know what does work and what doesn't work. And I think sometimes too, when we go through a bit of a middle-age crisis, it can be we start to think, oh, I'm losing, my youth and I want to go back to that. But it is that sort of thing that is, is it working for you? And this is up to each person to decide about how they want to be perceived and what their clothes are actually saying about them. There is no reason we can't wear jeans until our hundreds. And I've seen women of great ages wearing leather incredibly well. There's nothing that we have to definitely get rid of. It's just how we put things together. And often too, the frumpy happens too when we get too baggy, because, comfort often becomes a greater and greater driver as we get older. And so this is where just big and baggy and everything's baggy and oversized can also kind of end up making you look a little bit like mutton rather than lamb. But mutton, a very dull and unattractive mutton as well.